Hey everyone, so this is going to be like, I guess you could say a prologue to my testimony that I'm going to be sharing later. Before I get started telling this story, like I said, I'm going to be telling it in parts. I'm going to try to keep it like 20, 30 minutes long tops, hopefully. And this story will continue on to everything that I've written down on my Facebook. Those that know about it, if you don't, you don't. I mean, I'll probably put it in the comment section eventually, but as well as in Today. And I want to share other things as well. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to reach as many people as possible, as well as find people that have been through similar things, or maybe they can enlighten me and tell me what happened, because I'm still kind of confused. And maybe I can help somebody somewhere that started out where I was, and they're just as confused as I was. Anyway, to start off the story, I have to tell a little bit about my background. So, I didn't grow up very Christian-like. I would consider myself lukewarm the best. My family didn't shun God, but we didn't really talk about him as much as we should have. I had a couple friends, and we went to church a few times, and I always had the belief of God, but at the time, I was like, I would rather believe in God, than eternal damnation. And that was what I thought. It's like, I would rather believe in him and if I'm wrong, then it doesn't matter. But if I choose not to believe, you know what I mean? It's like the safe route. And I went so many years like that. So many years. And the only time that I would ever pray to or worship God was when I wanted something. When I was crying, when I was upset. It wasn't just to thank him for the things we do have. It wasn't things like that. And I'm sure there's people out there that can relate to me. We only go to God when our lives aren't perfect, when we're not getting what we want. That's not the way it should be. Anyway, I started out, and I'm not going to go way, way back because I don't want everyone to know every little detail about me, but I was a pretty quiet kid in school. I had a small group of friends, and I ended up getting sick. Ulcerative colitis, if anybody knows what that is, and it started dragging me down at the first sign of depressive states that I started with. I ended up going through surgery, getting that done, getting it removed, had to get my large intestine removed. So after that, I had some relationship issues. I'm not going to get too much into that because I don't want to call her out, but it was back and forth relationship issues, and it caused depression as well. Eventually, ultimately, I ended up making a decision to leave after I was pushed to it, pretty much. So I left, started over, and I had to go through some legal things, which threw me into even further depression. When I first got here to my hometown, I moved from one state to another. If you know, then you know me well enough to know. If you don't, then you don't, and that's fine. So I moved here to start over. And I spent the first few years. First, I was looking for, I got here, I was studying trying to become an EMT. And I studied that for a while. And I tried to pass over and over again. But I had legal issues going on with my kids at the time. And I had trouble focusing. Eventually, I went, and I think I failed twice, 2 or 3 times, and I think I failed 2 or 3 times, and that was on the last try, and I didn't want to be stuck having to redo the course again, so I decided to put the brakes on it. And after that, I started filling applications, and I got a job offer from this place I went to. I worked there for a few years, started off low. And before I get into my story, I want to make sure everyone understands. I'm going to do my best not to mention any names. Besides one in my story. Because I don't understand why this name was mentioned to me to this day. I don't know who this is. I don't know if the name has any correlation. I have no idea. There's still a lot of things in my story that I'm confused about. Anyway, so all these people in here are victims just as well as me. And I'm going to leave it like that. These people were just responding to what their flesh wanted them to do at the time. They were confused. I was confused. Everything happened like crazy. So, going back on there, I went to church a few times. And then I went to work, and I thought things were going good. I got a job. I was working and working. But I always had I felt this hole, this void that I couldn't explain. And I was always depressed. And so I decided one day that I was going to start doing karaoke on Smule just for fun, to try to cope with my depression. It helped somewhat. I did a few worship songs, and I noticed this tingling sensation that would happen in my face sometimes. At the time, I didn't think nothing of it. So I did that a few times, and I noticed that I was getting emotional. I've always noticed that I would get emotional during worship songs and during music, and deep down I knew there was something to it, but I just never pursued it. So I started doing music, started doing songs for fun, and I slowly started falling into depression because I wasn't seeing my kids, and it was tearing me apart. I would go to work. I wouldn't try to really talk to anyone. I would just put buds in, and I would just do my job and go home. I didn't care to socialize because I was like, people can come and go. I don't want to get close to no one and have them leave. Eventually, I got enough money, moved out of my parents' house because I came there temporarily. And I moved in with I moved like to two different people, but the one that's most important is I moved in with some coworkers and things were going good, We started, like I said, I'm still fighting depression. I'd go to work, I'd go home, do my normal routine. I started doing music. And this void just wouldn't go away. There was one day I went to work, and it was like the entire world slowed down. I hit depression so low one day that the entire world slowed down. I was mad at life. I was just going through the motions. And that day, it felt like the day was going on forever. A few days go by, and I'm just, still going emotional, going to work, going home, whatever. Playing my games, doing whatever I need to do at the time. I don't know. Did a lot of different things. Played with my dogs at the time, which one of them got stolen, and one of them died. But anyways, so that went by for a little bit, and I'm just going to work, doing my thing. And I started going through things on Facebook, and I ran into this post. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said something about God gives his toughest challenges or something to his strongest warriors or something like that. And I made a comment. I shared that post. I don't think this was the start of it, but I just find it weird that not like a month or two afterwards, everything starts happening. I made a comment on it, and I said God must have made me a soldier or something, because my life's been nothing but ups and downs. Without my kids, I probably would have given up by now. And by that, I didn't mean like hurting myself or anything, just not caring to pursue anything. I didn't have anything. So I made that post. And that was before that post happens. I have to go back a little bit further. So I was working normally. Eventually, I'm not going to go through all the nitty-gritty details, but eventually I ended up moving up in the company. And I became a manager. So I was working. Things were going good, but I mean, I was still fighting. I went to court over and over and over again, and I fought, and then I was forced to get a DNA test done to prove I was the father of my own kid, just to be able to see the second one. My first one, they let me see him eventually, and after I got all that done, and I started seeing him, I was happy. But I kept thinking about, like, all the time I'm missing, all this other stuff. But, that's natural, for a father, when you're only seeing your kid every other weekend, and you wonder what all you miss out on. But I was happy about it, I finally got to see him. I saw him, they were telling me all kinds of things that, but I'm not going to get into that. But I started seeing both of my boys every other weekend. And I started moving up. I thought things were going better, I started opening up a little bit. I started slowly opening up and talking to more people, because when I first came down here to this new state, I was depressed. I didn't care. I didn't want to talk to no one. I didn't even want to be there, to be honest. But I slowly started opening up, and I saw this person when I was still a peon, and I thought they were really pretty, put it that much. But I was like, you know what? Throw away out of my league. I am going to deal with it. I remember I first saw him over by, I think it was by the milk area. I don't know. But I just shoved it off. It's like, whatever, we see people every day. We're like, hey. So I remember seeing him. And I was like, okay. What about my day? And then I went back, I was working normally. Then I finally moved up, and I started working. Then I got over this particular department, ran into him again, and I just ignored it. Didn't even really speak to him much. Worried about my my job and get my things done that I need to get done. And then after that, a few months went by. The company ended up changing, and I was over this department for a while, but the company ended up changing, and we had to it was changing, and I got a job offer, and the job offer was for my old job, but as a boss over it. So I was going to be over the people. I was nervous. I didn't want to go back to the same shift I worked. I started working morning shifts, and I really liked it, and that's why I work morning shifts now. I prefer morning shifts over night shifts. But so I told him I accepted it. I accepted the job. I did that for a while, and I liked it. I mean, I kept busy. I started opening up more. I started communicating a lot to people, and things were starting to look better. I was starting to have a more positive outlook on life. And then this person, the same one I saw, came over to take over overnights. So now I already took notice of him years ago, and now I'm working beside him. I'm like, hey, cool, whatever. I didn't even think much of it at the first. Somebody else took notice of it, and that's part of the story. Anyways, so I was like, cool. Went about, go back doing my job, doing this, doing that. Finally, I reached out. We talked a little bit, nothing important. Told him that I was kind of getting tired of this job and that I was thinking about leaving in the future, because I don't remember why. I think that was back when I was still kind of depressed a little bit. And I told him I was thinking about leaving. And I told him about how I used to work at Amazon. So anyways, so I'm working, doing this, and then one day I made that post. I don't remember where I did it. I don't remember. It might have been just like on break or something. I was just sitting there listening to music. I was like, hold on. And I made that post about me being, I must be one of God's soldiers or something, because my life's been nothing but bump after bump. I don't know the exact post. I have it saved on Facebook on what I said. But then about a month or two after that, I walked into Walmart one day. I'm trying to think of when it very first started. But I walked into Walmart one day, and at first it was weird. It was very subtle in the beginning. I was like walking around, and I was hearing audible voices from people, thinking it was them. And it's like, I felt like I was like developing, I guess you could say, super hearing. That's what I thought it was at the time, super hearing. Because I was hearing things people were saying clear across the store. And that's how it started. And it was like very, very slowly progressing. I guess to try to keep me maybe as confused as possible. I don't know. But it went through that for a little while. It was just these lag, and then I would hear things that I couldn't see sometimes, like from people. And let's say I'd walk by the break room. I'd walk by the break room, and then a message would pop in, like 5 or 10 minutes later. Like, I guess best way to compare it would be like a lag message, like you're lagging on a computer or a console. It's like it was something supposedly somebody said that I heard 5 minutes after I had already passed this place, and I'm just like, what was that? And it was like audible at the time. And I started listening in. I started hearing negativities everywhere. I listened into some of my co-workers, and they were saying some things. I don't remember exactly what it was. I don't. During this whole experience, right now, I mean, I remember some of these mostly, but some of these I'm going to do my best to tell. I thought about writing a script and going by script, but I want you guys to see that I'm telling this person to person from my memory on what happens. I could easily, go through my story, and I could just write me a script out and read it over, and, but that doesn't seem genuine to me, and I don't want to do that. So I start hearing these things, and I start listening in. My manager, the one that really irritated me the most is I was helping unload a truck, and I overheard my manager say something. Like I said, I'm not saying it was him. I'm saying the things that I heard. I was being attacked by everyone. I believe it was spiritual warfare, but I don't know to the extent. I don't know whether it was, I don't know. But anyways, I was over there, and he was sitting at his desk, and he said something like, I know we should have fired that little a-hole back when he was oversharing or something like that. That's what I heard from the office. And then he saw me, caught me over looking at him, and he shut his door. Now, I was hearing other things before this point. I started hearing, like, it was like, whatever it was trying to make me believe that we were, like, advancing to make it, we were, like, starting to, like, telepathically communicate. I saw it a few times, but I do remember that one. And I just brushed it off. I was like, whatever. I don't even care. Went about my day, did my thing. I started walking around, and I started hearing voices projecting from my associates, saying something about me streaming some weird light off of me. And I got confused. I walked around for a little while, but I kept seeing these people are just like weirdly staring at me. And so I went and I hid back in the back room. One of the other overnight managers, came up to me. And I said something. I don't remember exactly what I said to them. But they looked at me and they acted like they didn't know what was going on. So I just said no. I just said never mind. I said I'm just gonna hang out back here for a little while and I'm just gonna clean the back room. That's what I'm gonna do. Because earlier that night, I was hearing everyone. I was hearing both of the managers talking underneath their breath, supposedly. I overheard the other female manager that I spoke of earlier talking about they were starting to stream this light too and all this other weird stuff. And a lot of times I'd hear them underneath their breath saying things like, I need to get the courage to do this, or I need to do this, or whatever. It was really weird that I was hearing these things. So I finished up work that night, and I went home. This is about the time. At first, I was living with my parents, and then I told you guys I eventually got the job. I got enough money, and I moved in with my coworkers. So I was living with them at the time. And I went home, and I tried to talk to him about it. I was like, dude, there's something strange going on. I'm not crazy. I don't know. I went to work tonight, and I heard these things that people were saying stuff, and the whole night was weird. I was like, if you go to work tomorrow and you see some weird things, you'll know that I'm not lying or something like that. I don't remember exactly what I said because I was still very, very confused at this time. He was just like sitting there listening to me for a little while. And after that, I ended up going back into my bedroom and talking to these voices in my head, trying to understand what it was. One of them was portraying it as her, as well as everyone else, all the other people. If there was a person that I knew or have spoken to, I don't know, maybe in general or recently, they'd pop in. It was like its own community in a sense. It was really, really strange. And I'm sitting there laying in bed with this stuff, and it was just like work talk. It was weird. It was like really weird. They were talking about like possibly being salary in the future, and that I'm much too important to be, actually working a job. I need to be out preaching to people and telling them about this stuff. This is the kind of things that I heard. I also heard that one time in the future, this is why I was so confused, was that me and this person were going to go around spreading the gospel. We were going to go help these people. And I'm not saying that I didn't believe it, but I'm just telling you the things that I heard, the conversations that I had in my head. And there was a lot of others too. It was weird. There was this one about the FBI or something taking interest in whatever my ability was, and they were trying to recruit me and all this other. It was weird. They're doing whatever they could to confuse me. I didn't believe hardly any of it. The ones in my head, it's like the things it was weird because it's like I'm hearing all these things in my head, but then I go to work and these people are acting strange. They're like staring at me, and I don't know, there's a few times they're like walking up to me, then turn around, walking away, looking at me with like these, I don't even know how to explain it. I told you guys in one of my reels that some of these managers started acting weird. Some of these people started acting weird. They started wearing makeup, for example, or at least a makeup look. I can't say for sure whether they're wearing makeup or not, but they started wearing like a makeup look, and they started acting out of character, and they were like making split decisions that they would like change their mind on, because they would like start beelining it towards me or something, then they just turn around and go the other way. I'm like, what is going on here? I was led to believe that me and this person, like, they were trying to come to me and I was trying to come to them, but something, some force was keeping them away. This is what I was led to believe. And so it's like they were playing on my surroundings and they were trying to explain it to confuse me. So finally, I'm going back and forth, and I'm just like trying to figure this out. But the video is getting pretty long here, so I believe I'll stop it there. So going back to, I talked to my roommate. This is where I'm going to end it off. I went to my roommate. I explained the situation to him about what was going on, and he was just listening and, obviously not believing, because it's an insane story. I understood that. I was just looking for someone to open up to, because at the time I was confused too. I didn't know what to think. Had no idea what to think. And this is just the beginning of how crazy it gets. So I think I've done the next time I start, I will I'm not sure where I'll start at. It's a long story. But it was something. So after that night, I ended up talking to him. I went back out, went home, talked, went to sleep. I think during that time while I was laying down, I was hearing talking, but it wasn't bad yet. It was there, but it was tolerable, is where I'll leave it at. The voices were tolerable, and they wasn't attacking me. They were just talking, and trying to have a conversation, because we know the devil, as he does, he kills, steals, and destroys, and he's a very good master deceptionist. He's going to make you think it's all positive while he's crafting his own devices and his plans against you. You guys will see that whatever this was, I was a true victim of spiritual warfare. Be it for good or bad, I don't know, but I lost everything in the midst of it. Alright. Thank you guys. God bless.